working on this material because our objective tomorrow is to start with this list. We're going to find some specific things for you, and I'm going to show you and teach you how to dial in the frequency, okay? And we're going to do some drills tomorrow to show you, and you'll be able to see, I'm off frequency, I'm on frequency. So you'll know what the differences are. And then I'm going to show you what you're doing to hold back or resist the incoming of what you want. Because if you are on frequency, if you're putting the right frequency out, but it's not coming in, that means you're resisting it. There's a blockage someplace. So there's only two reasons why you're not getting what you desire or what you want. Because someone says, this stuff can't work, Kevin. I really want a new car. But Mike, I just can't get the money. I just don't have the new car. I really want a new car. Believe me, there's only two reasons you don't have what you want. Or I really want to go platinum. I really want to go platinum. Or I really want to get my bills paid off. But I really want more money, but it's not working. I really want my income to be, much bigger. I want my check from ITV Ventures to be, 5,000, but it's not happening. I want to sponsor people, but I'm not getting them. You're thinking, so I know what I want, but it's not happening. Listen, I'm not denying it's not happening. I'm giving you the reason. There's only two reasons. Reason one is you're not putting the right frequency out. You think you are, but you're not. Secondly, if you are putting the right frequency out, you're doing something to block, to stop it from coming in. And that's what we're going to be working on tomorrow. Now, a question that comes up all the time when I talk about this is, does everyone who is super successful do this? Answer, yes. Without exception. There is no exception. Not 99.9%. It's 100% of the people that are super successful do this. However, do they consciously, knowingly do it? Not all of them. Some people do it instinctively and don't know what they're doing, but they do it instinctively. Now pay attention to this. For years, golfers said that they were doing something with their swing, and they were teaching it. Every golf pro said, this is how you swing the golf club, and this is what you do. Until high-speed photography came along. And when high-speed photography took these golfer swings, what they thought they were doing actually was not what they were doing at all. They were doing the exact opposite and didn't even know it. So this technique, this lining up of the frequency and making sure there's no blocks, is what every single person does who has super wealth. Some do it knowingly, and some do it not knowingly but instinctually. But this is what creates it. There is nothing else. There is no other secret magic wiffle dust. This is it. I started this evening by saying that recognition is so important for many, many reasons. But the most important reason that we put people across stage is consciously or unconsciously, it will get you to believe that you can do it, that you can be successful. The first chapter of The Magic of Thinking Big, believe you can succeed and you will, is the powerful magic. The powerful magic is knowing that you will succeed. That's the frequency that creates it into your life. That's why that phrase, success is a decision away, is so powerful. The decision is saying, I'm gonna do it, that's it, period. That's the choice. When you come to the place where you say and decide, I'm gonna do it, that's it, period. I'm gonna do it, that's it, period. When you get to that place, I'm gonna do it, that's it, period. Everyone stand up. Everyone stand up. Repeat after me. I'm going to do it, that's it, period. Ready? Repeat. I'm going to do it, that's it, period. Again, repeat. I'm going to do it, that's it, period. Again, repeat. I'm going to do it, that's it, period. Do you believe it yet? Say yes! Yes! Grab a seat. Okay, we have a lot to cover. All right. We have tables for you so you can write down things. First, it's interesting. I was sitting backstage. They said, you're going to go on about 9 o'clock. Do you want us to come and get you around 8:45? I said, no, the event starts at 7. They said, yes, I'll be there at 6:30. I said, why? I said, because I want to sit backstage and I want to hear the people go across stage and tell their story. I want to hear from the people who are in the business, and I want to hear what they have to say. So I've been sitting back there since 6:30. And it's interesting. I know a lot of you are probably in the same position I was. I was in network marketing. Donald had mentioned, got the number wrong. It wasn't 200 people. It was 200,000 people in less than 18 months that we put in. We did over $350 million in sales in that company in 18 months. And the stock went from 50 cents to $35. So it was a really profitable venture. That particular record in network marketing, I don't think ever will be broken. It's the fastest, in the shortest period of time, biggest profit ever in history. And that gives me a pretty unique position to teach you a little bit about network marketing, and also in terms of infomercials. I think some of you kind of know my track record since '89. I've done, in the US alone, over $2.5 billion in sales and infomercials on television. I have the highest percentage of winning infomercials in the world, anywhere in the world. No one even comes close. So I have a pretty good track record in that. And Donald, obviously, has probably been the #1 best student that I have ever met in my life. And you guys should be absolutely thrilled to have him as your leader and as your teacher. Because not only is he the best student, but he's the most hardworking, dedicated, loyal, and focused person I've ever met. And you guys are in the best hands of any organization I've ever seen. When Donald asked me to teach the seminar, he goes, Kevin, I want to give you the stage for the entire weekend. And he had to talk. I said, well, I'm going to be in Europe for the whole summer, about 3 months. And he says, well, I'll send a private plane to pick you up and, come on over and, I'll send a Gulfstream or something. And I really want you to be there. And I said, fine. So we started discussing what material he wanted me to cover. And we were chatting and chatting and chatting about the material that he wanted me to cover for this weekend. And there was some material, that I taught Donald, and there's some material that I've used in my life, and there's some material that is known at the highest level of income earners. Now, let me just define that for a second, because, and there's a reason why I'm telling you this story. Income, people think good income. How much money do you make a year to be like really making good money? So if I say, how much money a year would you need to make to say you're really doing well? And that will vary from person to person, okay? We all agree. But some people say $100,000 a year. Like if I'm making 100 grand a year, man, I'm doing good. Another person says, if I'm making 200,000 a year, I'm doing fantastic. Somebody else says, if I could make $300,000 a year, oh my God, I can't even fathom that. That's like huge money. And if I said, how about $500,000, $500,000 a year income, you'd say, oh, if you could introduce me to somebody who's making $500,000 a year income, I want to learn from that guy. That's not the guy you want to learn from, because he's still working for his money. You need to understand something. That ain't a lot of money. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. But it ain't a lot of money. Because when you start getting to the people who are making $1 million, $2 million, $5 million, $10 million a year, it's completely different. The mentality is completely different. Completely different. And that's what you need to know. And I was chatting with Donald. I go, Donald, Do you want me to basically just give them the stuff that they can handle? You know, $200,000 a year, $300,000, $400,000? Or do you want me to start talking about the stuff that's over here that may go way over their head? You know, because I said, I'm with Joe in Santa Barbara, and I was with, you know, my friends, you know, from Chicago who are worth like $8 billion. And I said, you know what I'm talking about, Donald? I goes, you know, these $10 million a year people and above, it's a different animal, but that's the magic. These are the Jedi Knights. I mean, they're doing stuff that nobody could even imagine. They think it's in terms of being able to create money and wealth. Do you want me to go there? And Donald said, yeah, and here's the reason why. Because even if half the people quit because you went over their head, the ones that stick will take this thing to $5 billion. I said, are you sure? He said, yeah. So I said, fine. And so that's why the name of the seminar, this weekend function, this workshop, is called Your Wish is Your Command. Now, you'll notice some people came up, we heard a couple comments backstage. They go, we did it wrong. The phrase is, your wish is my command, right? That's what we hear. Your wish, you know, the genie says, right? The genie of the lamp, your wish is my command. But the name of the seminar is, your wish is your command. And that's the whole point of this. Your wish is at your command. Nobody else's. And we're going to teach you how to be your own genie. We're going to teach you this weekend how to be your own genie. How to basically have a wish, have a desire, and create it. And this is stuff, and I was on the phone with Wayne Dyer. Some people are familiar with Dr. Wayne Dyer. I was chatting with him, and we were talking about manifesting things and so forth, and we started playing games. So let's manifest some stuff. Okay, what? Butterflies. Okay, so we do our little technique. 10 minutes later, I go, I see 3. I got 3 right here. He goes, I got 8. And we start playing games like that. We get able to manifest things in the physical universe. Okay, butterfly, nice, that's pretty, it's beautiful. Some of you are thinking, how about pot of gold? How about, you know, piles of $100 bills? Yeah, we can manifest that. And some of this stuff is going to go right over your head, and well, that's all right. Some of you will get it on the way home. Some of you won't. But those who do will make up. If just one person in the room this weekend gets it, you'll create hundreds of millions of dollars in business in your downline organization. And that's what Donald knows. He goes, let's just get one in the whole room to get it. Everybody else can quit. No way, yeah. So I came back down here, and I wanted to listen to the people on stage. And I timed the recognition. Some of you had timed it, too, because you kept looking at your watch going, how long is this going to go on for? People across stage, okay, hurry it up, come on. I'm bored, I want to get to the stuff. When is the training started? And I know exactly how you feel, because when I went to my first major weekend function in 1979, they told me I was going to learn the secrets of making money, that there was going to be a multimillionaire there that was going to teach the secrets of making money, and to bring lots of paper and pencil, I was going to learn the secrets of creating wealth. And I was excited. So I got there early, stood in line outside, they opened the doors, and I got a front row seat, and I sat right over there. And I was excited, had my note paper. I was there for the entire weekend, Friday night, all day Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon. They did training all Saturday night, and all Sunday morning, and even Sunday afternoon. I was there, baby. I'm in. I want to learn the secrets. And the event started at 7 o'clock, and the guy came up to do the kind of warm-up, you know, the MC, and he did a little kind of funny things and got everybody excited. And I'm looking at the clock, you know, bring the speaker out, bring the trainer out. Come on, I'm here for the meat. I want the meat. I want the good stuff. And after about a half an hour, they said, now we're going to recognize some people who have achieved some things in the business. And I'm thinking, okay, I guess it's time to go to the bathroom. So I went to the bathroom, came back, and I sat there, and they started parading people across stage. You had it easy tonight. That recognition went till 11:30 As people walked across stage, hi, this is my name, this is my sponsor, and I'm pulling my hair out of my head. I want to kill somebody. I'm like, this is unbelievable. I'm getting upset. I want the training. I'm getting tired. When is the guy coming out? I thought the guy was going to be here. There's no guy here. What's happening? And all these people are going across stage. And my person who brought me there, I grabbed him and told him I was all upset that these people were spending all this time going across stage. I wanted to learn the secret of making money. And he said, real simple, the reason you're upset is none of those people are in your group. And I thought about that for a second. And he goes, the other reason you're upset is you're not on stage. And I thought about that for a second. And as I sat there, calming down a little bit, and he said, you're already learning the secret. I said, what? He said, the secret is believing you can do it. And once you do that, everything else works. Everything else falls into place. And I said, no. I want to learn the secret. It took me about 10 years to figure out that that is the secret. And I heard these phrases such as, success is a decision away. And what the heck does that mean? I heard it 1,000 times. I didn't understand what it meant. I'm going to explain it this weekend. But the secret was that decision is just the belief that you can do it. That decision is the belief that what you want is going to happen. That is the magic right there. That's where the rubber meets the road. Now, what I'm going to teach you this weekend is outrageously, stupidly simple. And it'll go over some of your heads. But if you understand it, I am going to give you we're going to do some things specifically tomorrow with the lights on. We're going to do some drilling, answer your questions. I'm going to make sure you get this. I'm going to work really hard to make sure you get this. But there are some specific things that we're going to cover to get you to understand this outrageously simple principle. Now, this was first published, this principle that I'm going to be discussing this whole weekend, in 1927 in a book called The Law of Success in 16 Lessons by Napoleon Hill. Most people have never heard of this book. Most people have never read this book because it's 2 books and it's a huge, big, thick manual. And the story, very quickly, Napoleon Hill, at the turn of the century, was hired by a guy by the name of Andrew Carnegie. Andrew Carnegie, most people in the room do not know who he is. He was the richest man on planet Earth. He was the guy who owned U.S. Steel. Actually, U.S. Steel was a conglomerate put together by J.P. Morgan, by his president, Charles Schwab, and he became the richest man in the world. Andrew Carnegie knew the secret of creating wealth without working hard. He went to work at 9 in the morning. He left the office at 4 in the afternoon, Monday through Friday. He did not work Saturdays and Sundays or evenings. He took off June, July, and August and went to Scotland and said, don't bother me. This is at the turn of the century with no phones. He wasn't using BlackBerries and communicating with his office every day. He did that technique right from the beginning. He didn't work like a maniac 24/7 because he understood the real secret of making money was not working hard. It was using a different power. He understood that, and he became the richest man in the world. And other people at the time understood that power as well. Thomas Edison, Henry Ford, and virtually every billionaire. Andrew Carnegie decided that he wanted to share this secret with the world. He was the only billionaire in the circle that wanted to share it. Every other billionaire in the circle said, are you out of your mind? We're not sharing this secret. This is ours. We don't want more competition. So Andrew Carnegie hired a guy by the name of Napoleon Hill. And he said, I'm going to teach you this secret. I'm going to introduce you to the richest people on planet Earth. You're going to observe them, question them, and so forth. You're going to put together all the common denominators of success, and you're going to publish a book. He put it together called The Law of Success in 16 Lessons. It was published, revealing for the first time in history, never before or since, For the first time in history, he revealed the secret to wealth. Everybody went crazy in the billionaire circle. They pulled it off the market in 12 months. They forced it to be pulled. 10 years later, in 1937, a watered-down version came out called Think and Grow Rich, which some of you are familiar with. Think and Grow Rich is a good book, but all the secrets are taken out. That's why when some people read it, the majority it doesn't work for. Some people it does work because they're accidentally using the real secret that's not in it. And there's never been a book published ever since that reveals the real secret that was published in The Law of Success in 16 Lessons. My education in 1979 was I got an original manuscript of The Law of Success in 16 Lessons. Now, some of you know I flunked out of high school. I never went to college. That was my college education, The Law of Success in 16 Lessons. I studied it. I read it. I probably read it 100 times. Still have the books with me. I travel with the books. Travel with the books. I still read them to this day because that's how powerful they are. Because every time I read a page or a chapter, I get something more out of it. To this day, that's how powerful it is. Now, Napoleon Hill did some speeches back in the 30s. And there's a foundation called the Napoleon Hill Foundation. At the time, the foundation archives were in Chicago, and a friend of mine, actually, their archives were housed in his facility. And it was in the basement lock, under lock and key. The archives included original writings of Napoleon Hill and many tape recordings. These tape recordings were not cassettes or 8-tracks or CDs. This is back in the 20s and 30s. They were all on reel-to-reel, old reel-to-reel stuff. So like the tape players are like this big, and you have these 2 big reels on it. You know, you have to put in headphones and things. And the recording sound quality is very poor, so they've never been published because, you know, people would return them because you can't really hear it that well. It's all scratchy, and it's just poor sound quality. Well, I used to break in to this locked room in the middle of the night, and I used to listen to these recordings, and I used to transcribe them by hand. And I have those in a safe. And on one particular recording, Napoleon Hill was speaking to the Chamber of Commerce meeting in Washington, D.C. Now, the Chamber of Commerce in Washington, D.C. at that time was an outrageously prestigious group of businessmen. They weren't businesswomen back then, they were businessmen. That's all there were. And this was the captains of industry at the time. This was really powerful people. So to speak at the Chamber of Commerce, you were talking to the heads of heads, top dogs, and this was serious business. And there was a recording on there. And Napoleon Hill, in this particular recording, said to the group, he said, when I learned the secret from Andrew Carnegie and started telling people about it, it frightened me at how fast and powerfully it worked. Key word, he emphasized frightened. He goes, it frightened me. When people applied this simple principle, the money came so fast and in such large quantities, it frightened me at the power of this secret. But then he told the group, but alas, that's how they spoke back then, but alas, I stopped being frightened because almost no one used the secret because it was too simple. You're here this weekend. You invested your time and money. I wonder who in the room is going to say, this is too simple and not use it? Or who, if any, in the room are going to actually apply what they learn? Well, I guess we'll know in a few months, because whoever's the new platinums and the guys making $20,000, $30,000 a month, will know. Because it works that fast. It works that fast. Okay, you've been sitting along tonight, so I'm going to do a little couple things here quick, and then we're going to start doing some training. Everyone stand up. Everyone stand up. Everyone stand up. Okay, everyone face this way. Everyone face this way. Okay, now grab the person's shoulders in front of you and give them a little massage. Okay, now turn around. Okay, everyone face front, remain standing, face front. Okay, everyone touch one person on the shoulder. Okay, now turn around and touch somebody else on the shoulder. Okay, now turn around to someone you don't know, shake their hand and say, this is going to be a great weekend. Okay, grab a seat, grab a seat. By the way, I'm not going to call a break for bathrooms, so if anybody needs to go, don't worry, just jump out and just go and run and come back and run back so you don't miss anything. Okay, by the way, as a matter of curiosity, how many people here have actually heard me speak before? Anybody? Oh, most of you, okay. How many people here were in Jacksonville? Oh, good. Okay, good. Now, it's interesting. I'm going to cover some things tonight and tomorrow. I'm here all from 9 in the morning till 4 in the afternoon. I'll be here again on Sunday morning from 9 to noon. So I pretty much got the entire training, so you're stuck with me. If you don't like, thank you. I remember one time I was listening to a good friend of mine, Ed Foreman, doing a presentation. He has a program called the Successful Life Course in Kerrville, Texas. And he teaches a person how to have one great, super successful, terrific day. And he says, if you can just have one super terrific, happy, successful day, you repeat it 7 days in a row, you've had a great week. Do that 4 weeks in a row, you had a great month. Do that 52 weeks in a row, you had a great year. Keep on doing it, you had a great life. So I thought, yeah, this makes a lot of sense. So I went to his Successful Life training seminar, the Successful Life course in Kerrville for 3 days. Was trained by Ed. He's a dear, dear friend. We've known each other now since '79. And then I heard him speak again. And after the speech, I came up to him. We were chatting backstage, and I said, hey, I liked your speech, but I heard all that stuff before. He said, you have? I said, yeah. He says, you heard that stuff before? I said, yeah, I've heard it. I was at your Successful Life course in Kerrville. I heard all that stuff. He says, you have? And I said, yeah, Ed, I have. He goes, I wouldn't know. And I looked at him. I mean, because we know each other pretty well. We've been fishing together and things. And he says, Kevin, remember the saying, to know and not to do is not to know. Now, some of you have heard me speak before, listened to me on CD before. You may hear some things tonight that you have maybe heard before. That's okay, because you haven't heard it yet, obviously. To know and not to do is not to know. I'm going to be covering what some people will say is basics. Now, Donald wanted me to teach you the secrets, the advanced stuff. And some of you are going to be saying, when is he going to get to the secrets? When is he going to get to the advanced stuff? There's got to be a secret. There's got to be a secret. And I remember when I've studied in Chinese martial arts my whole life, and I remember when I was a kid, I used to watch the TV series with David Carradine, Kung Fu. Remember the TV series with David Carradine, Kung Fu? Right. David Carradine was Kung Fu. He was Kwai Chang Caine, a Shaolin monk from the Shaolin Temple in China. It's a real place. And everything you saw in that TV series is true. The Shaolin monks were trained in this temple. At the Shaolin Temple, they were trained in martial arts, how to use their chi energy, Tai Chi, Qigong, Kung Fu, fighting arts, meditation, how to control their mind, their body. They were the most flexible, strongest, most powerful, greatest martial artists on planet Earth. And the things that they can do boggle the mind and science. They put their arm out, they take a 2x4, smash it over the monk's arm, and the 2x4 breaks. You can't even do that against a steel bar, never mind a guy's arm. They take a spear and they put it into the throat of the monk and push, and the spear bends. It doesn't penetrate the skin. They take a brick, a real brick, and smash it over the monk's head, and the brick smashes, and the monk's head is still intact, and he's not crazy. I mean, this is real stuff, what really goes on. The power that they have is amazing. So I always wanted to meet a Shaolin monk, because the Shaolin Temple is real, but the monks were never allowed to leave until about 15 years ago. And for the first time in history, the Chinese government allowed 35 of the fighting monks of the Shaolin Temple to leave. I heard about this. They went on a worldwide tour exposing the myths of the Shaolin Temple, proving that they weren't myth at all, but these guys actually could do everything that myth said they could. And it was the most amazing show on earth you've ever seen, to see these monks do what they could do on stage. Their physical abilities. Every other martial artist was just like in awe. They could not believe what these monks could do. On the last day of the tour in San Francisco, the lead monk, Shi Youngming, decided he wasn't going back to China, that the secrets of the Shaolin Temple needed to be taught around the world. He defected. He walked out of the hotel, didn't speak English, hops in a cab and goes, tries to stop at a Chinese restaurant, walks in, he speaks Mandarin, they speak Cantonese, he still can't communicate. So he's hiding down of a Chinese restaurant, hiding in Buddhist monks. He was like, it was like the fugitive. For 3 years, he's hunted by the Chinese government, the mob, the INS. He's getting into fights. Finally learns a little English, wins asylum. Fine, opens up a kung fu school in New York. I hear about this, meet him, and bring him to my house to live. I want to be trained by the Shaolin monk. Now, at the time, his English wasn't very good. And my trainer was from Taiwan, whose English was also not good, but much better than the monk. His name was Master Tai. So my very first day with the monk, I say to Master Tai, my teacher, I said, tell the monk, we call him Sifu, which means teacher, tell Sifu that I want to learn the secrets of the Shaolin Temple, the advanced stuff, the trick stuff. And tell him I've trained so I know what I'm doing, and let's bypass all the basics, and let's get to the advanced stuff. So they talk in Chinese. He comes back to me, and Master Tai says, the monk wants to teach you how to throw a punch. I said, Master Tai, tell the monk that I know how to throw a punch. I don't want the basics. I want the fancy trick stuff from the temple. So they talk again. Comes back, he said he really want to teach you how to throw a punch. I go, Master Tai, I know how to throw a punch. You know I know how to throw a punch. Tell him I know how to throw a punch. I even know how to throw kicks. Tell him I want the trick stuff, chi, energy, magic stuff from the temple stuff, the Kwai Chang Caine stuff, okay. So they talk again, he say he really want to teach you how to throw a punch, but he want to see your punch first. I go, perfect. That way he can see I can throw a punch, and then we'll get off the punch and we'll get into the trick stuff. He goes, but he want to test your ability. So he sets up a candle flame, lights it. So now there's a candle flame, there's a candle flame is lit. He says, the monk wants you to throw punch full force at candle flame and stop only 1 inch before candle flame. I go, no problem. He wants to see, whether I can throw a full force punch with, precision and with control. No problem, I'll do this. And then he'll say, I'm impressed, and let's get off to the trick stuff. So I throw this punch, perfect punch. They talk. Master Tai says, the monk say he very impressed with your punch. Good. Thank you very much. Now we can go off to the trick stuff. Master Tai says, but the monk now want to show you his punch. Be my guest. The monk gets up, looks at the candle flame, looks at me. Nothing fancy, just throws a little punch. He stops about this far from the candle flame. The candle flame goes out. I look at this, my jaw hits the ground, and I go to Master Tai, goes, tell him I want to learn how to do that. He goes, that's what he's been trying to tell you. He want to throw you how to throw a punch. And here's the point. A punch is the basic. And as I learned 2 important things, he says, if you want to be a master is simply somebody who's mastered the basics. See, we always want to learn this advanced stuff and pass over the basics. Some of you will think this weekend is very simplistic. Let me tell you something. This is it. There ain't no advanced stuff. What I'm going to teach you is it. It's it. This is it. The monk told me this. He says, I bet you know how to throw a lot of kicks at a lot of different punches. I goes, oh yes, I have a large repertoire of punches and kicks and moves and routines. I know a lot of stuff. He says this to me. He says, I am not afraid of the 10,000 strikes you know that you've practiced once each. I'm afraid of the one strike you know that you've practiced 10,000 times. Does that make sense? Yes. It's about the basics. It's about focusing on the basics. It's about the fundamentals. All-star baseball player, shortstop, go to the game early. Guess what he's doing? Taking hundreds of basic ground balls. He's an all-star. He's a Gold Glove. What does he need to be taking ground balls for? He's an expert at taking ground balls. Why does he still have to practice taking ground balls? Because that's why he's an expert at taking ground balls. You constantly, never stopping, always continuing, focusing on the basics. If there's an advanced technique, it's focusing on the basics. That's the advanced technique. Everything else is fluff and doesn't get any results. Now, as a matter of curiosity, how many people in the room, by show of hands, are at the gold level or above? Can I see your hands? Okay, terrific. Okay. Because I'm going to teach some stuff, but I have to only talk to the goals. So I just need to know how many people we need, how much room we need to have. Too bad you're not gold, because that's going to be really good. Let me give you a couple ground rules for the weekend with me, by the way. This is your workshop. It's not mine. I know this material. I know it very well. It does work, and I know this material. It's your workshop, and what I mean by that is over the weekend, specifically tomorrow when we actually put the lights up and start getting into some workshop material, please ask questions if you have them. And the way I want you to ask the questions is just raise your hand, and I'll go. Just keep your question on the subject at hand, but ask questions. There's no such thing as a dumb question, because if you're confused about something I'm talking about, there's probably 10 other people or 50 other people that have the same question. So raise your hand, ask the question, and I'll make sure I clarify, because I want you to really get the most benefit of this workshop. Secondly, make sure you do take notes. You're not going to remember all this. I'm going to give you a lot of information in a short period of time. There's no way you're going to get it all. Do take notes. Thirdly, we are recording this, and I would highly suggest and recommend that you do get the CD version of this. I think it's going to be on DVD as well, but I do recommend the CD version. The reason is CDs, you can get it, you can download it on like an iPod or an MP3 player or something, and you can play it in your car. Repeating this information over and over and over and over again is really vital, because every time you go through life, even a week or two, you get to a new unit in time of who you are, and you'll accept this information and hear the information differently. Now, let me give you an example. Do you ever buy a CD? Some recording artist, a music CD, and you're listening to this CD, and there's 2 songs on there that you love. The rest of the CD's okay, but the 2 songs you love, and you play those songs over and over again. When you get the CD and you kind of skip to that track, and you play that song because you love that song. You've heard all the songs, the other ones are okay, but there's 2 that you love. 3 or 4 months later, you get that same CD, and all of a sudden, you're listening to it, and there's a song on there, one of the that you never heard before. It's really good. It becomes your new favorite song on the CD. It's your new favorite song. It wasn't there before, obviously, because it would have been your favorite song back then. No, it was there, right? You're different. You're a different person. And so now you're hearing that CD differently, and you're picking up something differently, and something else is your new favorite. Does that make sense? Did you get that? Do you understand this? I'll never forget one time I listened to a tape by a guy, and I listened to this tape. This guy's a jerk. Threw that tape away. Didn't like this guy. I got another tape of him. I don't like this guy. This guy is just, I can't learn anything. He's not saying anything. And I don't like his attitude. I don't like that tape. A couple weeks later, I get another tape. Same guy, same speaker. I must have got 12 tapes from him over 3 months. And every time I listened to him, I was annoyed. I just didn't like it, never listened to the tape more than once, just threw the tape away. About the 13th, 14th tape I get with this guy's name on it that I hate, I plug it in. And I'm listening, and I'm going, boy, this guy's changed. He's really good. Boy, he's different. He's really good. He's different. He's different. He wasn't different. Who was different? I was different. I wasn't ready to hear. He was stepping on my toes. He was giving me a swift kick in the rear end. He was making me feel uncomfortable. Does this make sense? I didn't like him. All of a sudden, when I shifted, his message became now relevant to me. The material here this weekend, Donald told me, do not sugarcoat it. He says, talk to them just like you were talking to me. I was up at Donald's suite. Our suites are like 3 doors apart. You got one side of the hotel, I got the other side of the hotel. And the funniest thing is, he told you about the swimming pool. He didn't tell you the story. I'm sitting there. I walk into his suite, and we're out on the patio. It's this huge patio. And we're out there, and there's off the patio, there's another patio that jets out like over the lake, and there's a big hot tub in it, right? You know, so it's like right under the stars, gorgeous. And there's a ceiling on this patio, and there's a circular staircase that goes up, and there's a big glass thing above us with water. And he goes, yeah, you see that right there? He goes, I was here the last time. He goes, I thought that was really cool. We got like a skylight with water. He goes, it's a pool. He goes, I didn't even know. He goes, that's what the staircase is for. You go up there and there's a pool up there. It's pretty funny. Okay, so listen to the CDs, and I recommend you listen to them and repeat listening to him, because you will get some more information. But when I was talking to him today, he just told me, do not sugarcoat it. Just tell him how it is. And he told me, it's okay if you piss some people off. Don't worry about it. I said, fine. He goes, half the people quit when they leave because of you. It's all right. All right. So I want to give you a couple things tonight that are basics. Some of you have heard it before, but if you haven't heard it yet, you're hearing it now for the first time. And if you've heard it before, you're hearing it tonight for the first time. The 3 basic things I always talk about at every seminar I ever speak, and I don't care how many times you hear it, you're going to hear it again. The first one, and by the way, hey guys, I need a whiteboard and easel up here so I can write on. So somebody back there is supposed to organize that, so if you can do some running back there, give me something to write on. The first thing I want to talk about is called the training balance scale. Now this is really relevant this weekend, and there's a reason why. The training balance scale. Now, I will use this as an imaginary whiteboard. Let's say that this is the training balance scale. On one side of the training balance scale, you can write the words attitude. Also write the words thinking or thoughts. You can write the word motivation. You can also write the word vibration. You can write the word dream or dreams. You can write the word the why. Okay, that's one side of the training balance scale. The other side of the training balance scale, write the word technique. Also write the word skills. Write the word action steps. Write the how. Write strategies. Okay. When you're learning anything, now you're here because you want to learn how to build a successful business and make money, correct? That's really what you're here for, okay. And what you're going to learn this weekend, you can apply to that. Now listen, what I'm going to teach you this weekend, you can apply to that. That being learning how to build this business and making a lot of money in the business, okay? So what I'm going to teach you, you can apply to that. Learning how to do this business and making money in this business. But what I'm going to teach you, you can apply to anything you want in your life, whether it's a better relationship, whether it's making money in a different business, whether it's just making money, having a different career, doing better at your job, getting in shape, changing your body. It doesn't matter. You can apply it to anything. I'm obviously going to tailor it a little bit for this business. But this training balance scale, and this is, I'm going to give you all these like sub-secrets here, consists of both parts. Now, when people come to seminars like this about, I want to learn how to make money in this particular business, guess what they always want to do? Tell me the specific technique. Tell me the how. Tell me the how. Tell me the how. How do I make that phone call? What do I say? How do I overcome objections? How do I do this? How do I do that? How do I do this? How do I do that? How do I do this? How do I do that? Okay? You will stay broke your whole life when you focus on the how. Let me say it again. Donald, don't cringe. I will not sugarcoat it. You told me not to. You will stay broke if you focus on the how. If you look at every super successful person, 10 million and above, let's look at those people. They started businesses, every single one of them, and they didn't know how. They didn't have a clue how. They didn't care how. How meant nothing to them because they understood the most important thing to making money was not the how. It wasn't the action. It was the thinking. Thus the name of the book by Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich. Not work hard and grow rich. Not use successful strategies and grow rich. Not learn super techniques and grow rich. It was think and grow rich. It's about the thinking. Andrew Carnegie spent his whole summers in Scotland. Don't bother me. Because he used the thinking. Yeah, you guys can just come on up here. Thank you very much. It was the thinking. So this training balance scale is a misnomer. What does that mean, misnomer? It doesn't have to be balanced. As a matter of fact, if you want to be successful, here's the secret. And I'm going to show you as soon as I get this up here. So you guys, you get any markers? Get some markers? Okay. The secret is that the scale, if you want to be successful, here's the secret. It's going to look like this. All the emphasis has to be on the thinking. Almost none, if any, needs to be on the how. And I know you're all thinking, yeah, he's wrong. It's okay. I mean, I just applied it. And I'm telling you, in applications, it works. And from personal experience of my friends all around the world, it works. I was just in Europe for 2.5 months. Doing what? Nothing. I was just driving around, eating, a lot of eating. I mean, I have friends all over Europe, so I was in, all throughout Germany. I'm looking at castles, and meeting people, and I was in France, a lot of eating in France, eating. Italy, pasta, pizza, eating. The weight loss cure works, by the way, didn't gain a pound. And drinking, too. I mean, I'm drinking, wine in France, and they have something called Weissbier in Germany. Very nice for breakfast. It's a proper breakfast food in Germany. But the point is, I meet people all over the world. I know people all over. I was in Berlin, I was in Hamburg, I was in Istanbul for a week with a bunch of friends over there, had these 200-foot yachts, $60 million yachts. By the way, if you're making $500,000 a year, you ain't buying a $60 million yacht, okay? You can't even rent a $60 million yacht. You don't have the money. That costs $500,000 a week to rent, okay? Different caliber of income. Gabish? So when I'm talking to these people, this is what they do. You'll never know that because you're never going to be around them. And if you are, they're not going to tell you. They will not tell you. I know this so factually. I get yelled at by these guys all the time for sharing this stuff outside of the circle. That's true. They do not want to share this. I mean, I was with a buddy of mine in Santa Barbara. He's got this gorgeous spread right in the water. I mean, we're sitting here, and the water's crashing right here. I mean, we're that close. And just gorgeous spread, It's got like 4 planes, private planes now and everything else. And we're chatting about this stuff. And all of a sudden, a guy comes over who's not in the circle. I think he makes $300,000 a year or something. A nice guy, works really hard, drives a BMW. And he comes over, and I'm sitting there, and my buddy did this. It was like our conversation wasn't even ever happening, and he just turned, nice guy. Wasn't mean or nasty, but the whole conversation, it was kind of like, we don't talk about that in front of these people. I mean, you really don't understand. That's how it is. Some of you are thinking, is he kidding me? That's how it is. You'll never get behind closed doors. The information I'm sharing, I've never shared in public before this weekend. And this is being recorded. I don't know how this is going to be reacted. I mean, Napoleon Hill got his book pulled off the market in 12 months. These CDs you may never see. Get a bootleg copy while you can. So the training balance scale, let's see if this marker works. Here's the scale. It's got to be like this. So this is the thinking, we'll call it thoughts. And this is the action steps, or you can call that the strategies or the techniques or the skills. This weekend is going to be focusing on this. Now, does this really work? Well, let me give you an example of this. I was teaching this subtly back in the 80s. And I have a dear, dear friend of mine that I met when I was 15 years old named Fred. And we were in the memory training business back then, and we used to hire people and train them how to be a speaker. Blaine and I worked together in the memory training business. I've known Blaine almost 30 years. And we hired this guy named Fred. And we had a pretty specific training schedule. Now, most of the guys in the business that I work with, Blaine and Mark and so forth, were really focused on the technique. Very focused on the technique, okay? And kind of instinctually, because I learned some stuff back in, I'm going to tell you some stories in a minute about how I learned this, but I learned some of this stuff secretively back in the 70s, and I was kind of under orders never to share it. So I wanted to get a little out there, but everybody was always focusing on this. As a matter of fact, there's a guy named Steve Scott who's done really, really well in the infomercial business, who put together a whole course called Strategies of Superachievers. And guess what? 99% of it, I went through the whole program, I brought it with me to Europe, watched everything. Everything was based on this. He misses the whole point. Misses the whole point because he's not into the super wealth category, because he's really missing the whole point. It's all focusing on technique. It's all on technique, and that's not going to do it. Well, when we used to teach memory training, what we used to do is we used to have a speech. And we used to try to teach everybody how to do the speech exactly the same way. So we used to have a cassette tape of the speech and a transcript of the speech. So when we hired a speaker, we taught them how to make this 30-minute speech verbatim, pretty much. So that way everybody was doing the same speech. And yes, if everybody does the exact same speech, you will get very consistent results. Absolutely. No question. Okay? However, if this is true, and this is activated properly, then theoretically, the techniques don't matter. Now, pay attention to this, because this is the whole crux of this weekend. If I can teach you how to activate this properly, this won't matter, if this is true, what I just drew. Fred believed in the memory training course on a scale of 1 to 10, a 15. His belief level was over the top. He believed that every single person needed to take this memory course. Absolutely, they could not, under any circumstances, not take it, because it was that life-changing. And that was from his soul. So we trained Fred the standard way. Fred went out and did his first speech. He called up with his results. Spectacular results. As a matter of fact, better results than me, or Blaine, or Mark, or Don, or Dave, or anybody. And we just chalked it up to beginner's luck. And the next speech he did, he was right in the top 3. And the next speech he did, he was in the top 3. And the next speech he did, he was in the top 3. He was always 1, 2, or 3 every speech. He did this for a month solid. Then my partner at the time, Mark, said, we need to have Fred record one of his speeches so we can listen to it. I said, why? He's killing, he's doing great, he's a home run, he's a superstar. Who cares what he's doing? Well, I want to make sure he's doing the speech properly. I go, his results speak for themselves. Well, I heard that one of his speeches lasted almost an hour, and you know it's only supposed to go 30 minutes. I go, it doesn't matter because it's working. See, I know this. My friend Mark didn't. So I'm just trying to get him off the subject. So he demands that Fred make a copy of the speech. It was, in fact, an hour. It didn't resemble the speech in any way, shape, or form. He was talking about water filtration, and I don't know what he was doing, and we had no idea. I mean, Mark was horrified. He went ballistic. He wasn't following the script. I said, but everybody's buying the course. Who cares? He's being himself. He knew this was activated. The technique doesn't matter. This is the most important thing you can understand. You don't have to even think or worry about the how when this is activated. And this is what we're going to be working on this weekend. Years ago, I heard a speaker make a statement. He says, when your attitude's right, the facts don't count. And I said, that's a stupid statement. And then I realized, of course it isn't stupid. That's exactly the truth. That's the magic. I can teach you how to be a Jedi Knight. I'm going to teach you the magic. I mean, it really is the magic. It's the magic. When your attitude's right, the facts don't count. Let me say it a different way. When you activate your thoughts correctly, then the how doesn't matter because you get the results anyway. Let me add one more little phrase to it. Without any effort on your part, as if by magic. Don's going, okay, that was a little too much, you went over their head. I'm telling you what it is. If Andrew Carnegie, who's flat broke, can start a business and from day one say, I have a wife and I have children and I'm not going to kill myself. I'm going to go to work at 9 in the morning. I'm going to leave at 4, Monday through Friday. I don't have phones, nothing, no communication afterwards. I go home, I have a nice dinner, play with my children, enjoy my life, read, take the weekends off, golf, and then June, July, August, I am taking off to Scotland, don't bother me. And he can become, during the beginning stages when he was building his business, he was doing that, not just at the end. He did it from day one because he knew how to activate this, and he taught it to Napoleon Hill. That's the point I'm trying to get across to you. This is the important part, the training balance scale. So this weekend, we're going to teach this. Now, that's the thing I always talk about, training balance scale. Second thing I always talk about is teachability index. And the reason that these are the basics is because everything else I say will not matter unless you understand these fundamentals first. The teachability index is basically how teachable are you? The question is, how teachable are you? On a scale of 1 to 10, I mentioned Donald Barrett is a 10 plus. I believe I am a 10 plus. I think I'm an excellent student. And the people I know that are in the super wealth categories are all excellent students. They all learn because they all know the phrase that Blaine mentioned earlier. They know they don't know what they don't know. They understand that, and they're always learning and always asking questions and always listening and always paying attention. So the teachability index, I'm going to teach you a lot of stuff this weekend. The teachability index asks, how teachable are you? This will determine how well you're going to receive this information. And when you understand the teachability index, you can make some adjustments so you can become more teachable. That's the point. You need to establish, are you teachable? And then if you go, oh boy, I'm not, well then I'm not going to waste your time and money here this weekend. Let's correct it right now so that you are teachable. That way you'll get the most benefit from this weekend. Does that make sense? Okay, teachability index. There are 2 variables. The first variable is on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate yourself on your willingness to learn? What is your willingness to learn on a scale of 1 to 10? Now, I believe that if you're here, you invested your money and your time, you're probably at 10 on willingness to learn. Nobody was forced here, I don't think. The second one is, what is your willingness to accept change? And this is the big one. I'm going to be telling you some stuff that you are going to have a dramatic change in a paradigm to get your thinking different than it is right now. Otherwise, you'll stay in the exact same spot you're at. You have to change. One of the most brilliant statements I ever heard was from my friend Brian Tracy. Dear friend of mine, we were traveling around together for years, always bumped each other. Talk about serendipity. We bumped into each other one year on 3 international flights. We were on the same flight. The likelihood of that happening is like you have a better chance of hitting the lottery 4 times in a week. It's not going to happen. And we were flying to Germany together, and we were chatting. And I said, you know, the most powerful thing I ever heard you say, Brian, was, in order for things in your life to change, you're going to have to change things in your life. Does that make sense? I mean, how simple is that? You can't be doing the same thing over and over again. Whatever you're doing right now, guess what? If you're not where you want to be, you're going to have to change something. And the thing you're going to have to change is the way you think. That's what you focus on. Not, well, I need to change my house, I need to change my state, I need to change my clothes. No, change the way you think. Everything else will fall into place. So on a scale of 1 to 10, what is your willingness to accept change? If your willingness to accept change is a 0, 10 times 0 is 0, you are not teachable. Go home. Or go boating tomorrow. Don't bother yourself with here because you're wasting your time. Now, if your willingness to accept change is a 10 on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 times 10 is 100. You are 100% teachable. You will get this information, and in 6 months' time, your income level will be bigger than you could ever think about. So how teachable are you? What is your teachability index? So my focus to you right now is, what is your willingness to accept change? And it's okay, by the way, it is okay if I tell you a bunch of this stuff and you disagree with me. It's okay. Everybody has the right to be wrong. I mean, it's not my stuff. Now, the last thing is, you've heard me say this if you've heard me speak before, and I'll say it again, to know, not to do, is not to know. And if you understand this now, you'll understand why you're going to have to hear it another 100 times, just like I did. Okay? I heard things 100 times before it got into my thick skull as well, so I understand where you're coming from. There are 4 steps when you learn anything. The first step is called unconscious incompetence. Okay? And that's a scribble because that means I don't know how to spell the word. Unconscious incompetence. Unconscious incompetence. That means you don't know you don't know. Okay, that's ignorance. That's the first step. We're over that. You're all at level 2, which is called conscious incompetence. Conscious incompetence. That means you know that you don't know. At this point right now in this seminar, you're thinking, you know something? This makes some sense to me, and there's some stuff about thoughts and thinking and success that I don't know. There's some things that I can probably learn that can probably change my financial picture around if I pay attention. So you're consciously incompetent right now. You know that you could probably learn some stuff. Let's hope you're at that level. When you leave here, you're going to be at level 3, which is called conscious competence. Conscious competence. That means you are consciously competent. You are going to know consciously what you need to do to think differently or how to think differently to make things change in your life and get the things in life you want. And how to access your own genie. How to be able to command. Your wish is your command. You have the power to command anything you want in your life. You have that power. You don't know how to turn the switch on, though. Some of you may not even believe you do have the power. But by the end of the seminar, 2 things. Hopefully you'll understand you do have the power to command. That means command, like a dog, go, fetch, come, sit. You have the power to command, which means they must obey. You have the power, you, not me. Your wish is your command. You have the power to command it into existence, into your life. You don't know you have that power yet. Hopefully you'll come to that conclusion, because I'm going to give you some scientific evidence that it's true. and I'm going to give you the techniques to make it happen. So hopefully you'll believe it's true and you'll know how to do it. You're consciously competent. I learned this stuff back in the 70s. I had a huge advantage. What? I was young. Why? It means I didn't have a lot of negative experiences to hold me back. I'm giving you the truth. I had an advantage. I learned it when I was 12, 13, 14 years old. I was stupid. I was naive, and I just believed it. I was lucky. And that's why wealthy families have wealthy thinking kids, because those kids learn it from their wealthy parents right at the get-go, right off the giddy-up. That's the advantage. I'm not going to sugarcoat this. They have an advantage. When you learn it younger, it's an advantage. Doesn't mean it's impossible for you, but it's a little more challenging to learn it now. Not impossible, just a little more challenging. That's it. Not impossible at all, just a little more challenging. I did have it a little easy because I learned it when I was very young. I was so naive, I just believed it. And because I believed it so early and did it so early and got such great results, I had $1 million in the bank before I was 18 years old. Okay? My dad was a welder. Here's the point. When you do this long enough, when you do this repeatedly, okay, when you do anything repeatedly, tying a shoe, okay, bowling. How many people here bowl? Anyone here bowl? Okay, a couple of bowl. All right. If I asked you how to bowl, how many steps do you take? I don't know. You don't know. You just get up there and bowl. You just do it. It's automatic, instinctive, right? So when you get to that level where it happens automatically, autopilot, that's the magic. This is now, you're a Jedi Knight, okay? You're Obi-Wan Kenobi. This is called unconscious competence. It's working automatically. You don't have to think about it anymore. It happens automatically. You don't have to think about it anymore. And let me tell you about unconscious competence. I was in Milan, Italy. I was in the square right in front of the cathedral. Big, huge, gorgeous square. And I'm just walking by myself, checking out the cathedral, a bunch of people, tourists around. And all of a sudden, this guy comes right over here, and he's making a beeline right for me. A beeline. And he grabs my arm. And he looks like a homeless person. He grabs my wrist, grabs it. Well, that lasted about half a second, and he was on the ground. Because I had trained so many times with Master Tai that when you feel that kind of pressure, you don't think. It just happens automatically. It was so instinctive. There were two policemen right there, and I'm thinking, I'm going to jail. Assault and battery or something. I didn't know what this was, and I don't know who he was or what happened, but it was just so instinctive. He was trying to give me some pamphlet. I mean, I didn't hurt him, but my point is, it was just so instinctive. And the two policemen were kind of laughing. They thought it was kind of funny, because the poor guy was just kind of handing me some pamphlet for some free, visitation to something or something. But he grabbed me, grabbed me, which you shouldn't have done. I don't think he'll do that again to anybody, but. Unconscious competence means you just do it automatically, instinctively. It's automatic. You're not going to get to this level today, but I will show you how you can get to this level. How fast you get to this level will be different for every single person, okay? But this is when your life is virtually magical. Wayne Dyer and I were talking about this on the plane. I was in Sydney, Australia with my buddy. He's got the biggest yacht in Sydney Harbor. Got this helicopter on it. This is a few years back. And I was sitting there in this hot tub, and we're chatting, and Robert Kiyosaki, the author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, was on the phone, and I'm on the phone. I said, yeah, I'm with Renee. Oh, I know Renee. I know of Renee. I'm so, you know Renee? I goes, I'm sitting right next to him in a hot tub. I goes, we're on his yacht. You know, you're on his yacht? Yeah. And we're chatting, and we're talking about how he went from virtual bankruptcy. Robert Kiyosaki, a lot of people don't know, was bankrupt. He was absolutely broke, bankrupt, lost everything, screwed up everything, did everything wrong you could imagine in business, and was flat broke, worse than broke, bankrupt, and turned it around just like that. And when he turned it around, he got to the level of unconscious competence, and the three of us were talking about how life is so magical. And my buddy, Renee, at the time, we were on the phone, I had Robert Kiyosaki on speakerphone. We were talking about things we were buying and experiences we were having and trips we were taking and the kind of lifestyle we were living. Not really materialistic. You have to understand, it's not about the materialistic. It's about really the experience, the life experience that we're talking about. And sometimes life experiences cost a lot of money. But it's not about the money. It's not about spending the money. It's not acquiring things. That's materialism. That's the guy who makes 300 grand a year. He's concerned about his BMW. But when you're at a different level, you're not concerned about that. You're concerned about the feeling you get when you're out. So the car is really irrelevant in the grand scheme of things. You really change from being materialistic. But we were talking about money, and my friend made the most beautiful statement. And he says, the three of us understand that money is nothing but a renewable resource. Think about that. Because we know, who cares if you give it all away, spend it all today? It's a renewable resource. We can make more. We'll get more. It'll come to us. It's not a problem. Not even an issue. Not even a concern. Let's be like Andrew Carnegie. I'm going away for 3 months. Don't worry about it. The money will come in. That's the difference. Not, I'm going to go work for it, earn it. The magic is, the life of magic, the life of unconscious competence in this area is you never have a worry about money ever again. Or anything for that matter, because you know it's just going to be fine. And everything is. That's the beauty. That's the beauty. Now, I have to give you just a couple bits here, and I'm going to give you some specific things tonight that's going to be a good foundation for tomorrow. A lot of people may not know how I started to get some of this information. Back in 1977, my parents were going through some tough financial times. I mentioned my dad was a welder at GE. They were on strike. He worked in the Riverworks plant, building 30. They called it Dirty 30. He was a tough guy, worked in a real dirty place, blue-collar worker. And we lived, you know, a nice, blue-collar, average life. We had one bathroom in the house, nothing fancy, you know, nothing big, very nice, but it was a nice house, and we had a little backyard, and you know, we had a car, you know, every 4 years. My dad financed through the credit union, and, you know, we didn't have any money to take any vacations or anything, but, you know, we ate steak on Monday night, had steak, and you know, we lived okay. I mean, I didn't know any different, so it was fine. But my dad was on strike, and I do remember there was a lot of financial pressure, and he was working nights, trying to make up money, and he was working really late. And I just remember we were really tight money-wise, and it was a big concern and discussion in the house. And if I ripped a pair of pants, my mom really got upset. And I wasn't getting new pants. There was a patch on those pants, even if those pants were the ones I wore to school. And I couldn't get a new shirt. She would sew that shirt if I ripped it. Money was tight. And I began to think, I want to make money. I want to make money. And that became a major thought. Now listen very closely to this. I did not say we don't have money. Listen very closely to this. The circumstances of not having money and being in financial difficulties, that gave me something to look at, okay? And when I looked at that negative, bad situation, it made me understand what I wanted. Do you understand what I just said? I was looking at a negative situation and feeling a negative situation. And that allowed me, and only that allowed me, to create a desire for what I wanted. And what I wanted was, I want to have an abundance of money. Do you understand that? This is the magic right there. Bad situations, negative situations, situations where you distinctly know what you don't want, be thankful for them. They are blessings. Because those are the only moments in time in your life when you can now create the desire for what you want. The only time you create a burning desire for what you want is when you're experiencing something you hate or dislike. That's when desire is born. That key word, desire. Very important word, desire. You can also put dream, depending on how you define these words. When you establish a desire / dream, whichever word you want to use, when you establish a desire / dream, and you focus on that for even a short period of time, you begin to create it into existence. I'm going to give you the science behind this. Napoleon Hill said it this way. Napoleon Hill described this process as define clearly what you want, and then get a burning desire for its attainment. That was the whole Andrew Carnegie secret. Define clearly what you want, and then get a burning desire for its attainment. When you do that, you activate something that will create it into existence. I'm going to tell you how to do this specifically, and I'm also going to tell you what you're doing right now without even knowing it that's stopping it from coming in. Because there is something that you will do that will create resistance, that will create a blockage, that will slow it down or prevent it from coming into your life. I'm going to show you what that is and how to correct that. So it's important that you know what happened here. This was by accident in my life. We had this situation, no money, my dad miserable, my father and mother challenging financial, a lot of stress in the family. I saw it, was unhappy, it wasn't good, pressure, stress, arguing, fighting. We all know what we're talking about here. I'm a kid in the house. My brother's in the house. We can't go to the movies. We can't get new clothes. Christmas is not going to be good. This is not good. I don't feel good. I don't feel good. I want an abundance of money. That's what I want. I want an abundance. I created my desire, and I started to get maybe a slight burning desire for its achievement. So I had defined what I wanted, and I started to create even the small desire for its achievement. When you do this, you bring it into your life. This was something that happened every day, so I was focusing on this every day. Very important. A week later, something magical happened. My friend John Lavarante called me up. And he says, hey, Kevin, we're going to the movies tonight. You want to go? At the time in the 70s, we had longer hair. Remember in the 70s? Longer hair? Well, I was playing baseball with a couple of my friends. I had a baseball hat on. And when you go to the movies, sometimes there's a person behind you, and if you're in a baseball hat on, they tell you to take your baseball hat off. Well, I kind of had this long kind of hair, and if you're out there getting sweaty, and I had to take my baseball hat off, I looked really, really stupid because my hair was all flat, and it was kind of sticking out to the side, and I was going to be embarrassed if I had to take off my hat. So I told my friend John, I don't think I can go because I don't think I'm going to have enough time to take a shower. He goes, well, we're leaving in a half an hour. I says, well, if I'm not there, leave without me. I really wanted to go. So I hung up the phone. I kind of struggled, you know. Do I keep the hat on? Am I going to be embarrassed? I mean, that's how stupid I was, but I was a kid. So I decided, the heck with it. I'm going to go, and I'll just keep the hat on. I'll sit in the back if I have to. So I walk down the hill, walk down the street. I go to my friend Johnny's house, knock on the door. Mrs. Lavarante answers the phone. She goes, Kevin, they already left. I go, oh, it's okay, Mrs. Lavarante. I told them that if I wasn't here, they could leave without me. Don't worry about it. Oh, I'll drive you to the theater. I go, nope, listen. Believe me, they left, it's okay. No, she said, I'll drive you. It's okay. They left. I turned around and started walking home. I'm walking home, and there's a house here, and there's a kid that I used to play Little League with, Steve Gogan, standing on his porch. He's in a three-piece suit. I'm 13 years old at the time. Keep this in mind. He's in a three-piece suit. He's my age. If you're 13 wearing a three-piece suit, you're going to a funeral. It's like 7:45, 7:30, whatever it was at night, and he's got a three-piece suit on. So he goes, hey, Kevin. I look at him. What does he got a three-piece suit on? He says, hey, you're always looking to make some extra money, right? My eyes get really big. I'm thinking about making money. All of a sudden, this guy's asking me if I want to make money. So I go, well, what do I have to sell? Because at the time, I had sold some Christmas cards to the neighbors, and I had a paper route, and I had a couple little things going. So I said, what do I have to sell? And he says, I'm not at liberty to say. What? He says, he goes, there's a business meeting going to be going on here in about 15 minutes. He goes, I can get you in. I go, but I'm dressed like this. It's okay, I can get you in. Great. My mother thinks I'm going to the movies, so I got a couple hours to kill. So I go into his house, sit down, there's another couple sitting there, and this guy named Jan Jocelyn comes up with this whiteboard and easel, sets it up, and I'm at an Amway meeting. I don't know what Amway is, but this is an Amway meeting. And this guy starts talking about dreams and so forth and so on. And the two things that I understood was, if you want to be financially independent and not have to worry about money, I'm thinking, worry about money? This is exactly what's going on. I'm thinking, the finger of God is on this thing. What's going on here? He goes, if you want to be financially independent, two things. A, he says you have to be in a business of your own. That's the vehicle you need. And B, you have to have the right attitude. Those are the two things I got from that. And then at the end of the meeting, he says, I can give you a couple books to go home with. Gave me a book called The Possible Dream and another book called The Magic of Thinking Big. I went home, I put The Possible Dream to the side, and I picked up The Magic of Thinking Big, and the first chapter was, believe you can succeed, and you will. Remember when I first came on stage, I talked about recognition and what the whole purpose of that is? There's a lot of purposes. But you know what the number one main purpose is to get you to do the one thing that'll make all the difference in your life financially, and that is just get you to believe you can do it. And say, well, how does people going across stage get me to believe I can do it? Real simple. You're looking at some of these people and you're thinking, if that guy can do it, I can do it. So I read this book, The Magic of Thinking Big. The first chapter, Believe You Can Succeed and You Will. And then the second chapter was Cure Yourself of Excuse-itis, the failure disease. The rest of the book was great, but those two things just hit me right between the eyes. And I started learning and getting my thinking straight. And that really was the beginning stages of some training that I was very lucky to get. Now, it's pretty interesting because that same year, another thing happened. When I read that book, I decided I was going to become a millionaire in the Amway business. So I signed up as an Amway distributor. I did everything they said to do. I started reading books every day. I was listening to tapes every day. Back then they were cassette tapes. I was going to every function I could, every rally, every seminar, every meeting. My mother and father were pulling their hair out. What are you doing? You're getting brainwashed. Yeah, they're washing my brain of all the negativity and filling it with positive thoughts. Yeah. And I remember, forget one time, I'm listening to a tape, and my mother comes downstairs to my room, and she's mad that I'm listening to this tape, and she says, if you keep listening to that guy, you're going to turn out just like him. He's a multimillionaire, he's happy, he's successful, he's healthy. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm looking to do. So I started doing everything they said to do, and I started inviting all my 13-year-old friends to the Amway meetings. None of them joined, by the way. Or if they joined, they quit the next day. They're 13. And after about 6 months, I used the power against myself. What I did was, I then believed that I was too young to be successful in the Amway business. That it wouldn't work for me because I was too young. That's what I believed. Now, by the way, there was another 14-year-old that I had met who had joined the same month I did. Keep that in the back of your head for a second. Well, I'll just tell you, I think you know what I'm going to say. He didn't believe he was too young. He had a different philosophy. Him and I would go to the meetings together, we'd see each other and so forth, and we were both struggling because none of our friends were getting in. I came to the conclusion that I was too young to be successful in the Amway, that it was the wrong vehicle for me. He had come to the conclusion that his friends were too young for the business. And he said, I need to find 6 people that are older than me that can do this. He became a diamond in the Amway business and became a multimillionaire in that business. I knew I was too young, so I quit the Amway business. I, however, was lucky enough to befriend the biggest distributor in the Amway business, named Dexter Yeager, and was invited to his home and started being mentored by many of those people, even though I was no longer in the business. Later, I trained his children in various techniques, including memory training and so forth. But what occurred was, when I changed my belief, I said, I'm too young, this is not going to work for me. There's got to be another business that it will work for me. When I made that decision and came to that conclusion. Within days, I picked up a newspaper and saw an ad that said, Ohio man discovers secret to financial freedom. Age does not matter. That's exactly what I need. See, I didn't know that my wish was my command. I didn't know what I was doing, but you can see what I was doing. I was just creating a desire and putting some attention on it, and it was manifesting. I didn't know this at the time. It was a book called 7 Steps to Freedom, How to Escape the American Rat Race. So I bought this book, this thick. School books, 7 Steps to Freedom, yeah.